Picture this. Imagine you're right there on the open sea, somewhere in the heart of the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most critical and high-stakes ocean anywhere on Earth. The sun's blazing down and eye snakes patches of ocean down hard. The water looks peaceful enough but underneath that calm, things are happening fast. A cluster of those quick, agile Iranian fast attack boats. They're hugging the surface, tough to spot in ships passing by. They're hugging the surface, tough to spot from far away, and they're clearly on a mission. Then, just before they can get anywhere near their targets, you hear the unmistakable whir of a shove show up. Locked in, weapons military choppers show up. Two kinds of U.S. military choppers show up, locked in, hot and ready. In a flash, all 6 of those Iranian vessels are taken out, sent straight to the bottom. And let me tell you, this isn't some Hollywood script playing out on screen. This is the real deal, unfolding live in one of the world's most vital shipping lanes. USS Me. And what's coming next is going to shift the way you see this whole standoff, America's military edge, and just how razor-thin the line between calm and chaos really is right now. U.S. Military helicopters. Think the Army's powerhouse 64 Apache and the Navy's versatile MH-60 Seahawk. Spotted aggressively and took down those 6 Iranian fast traffic right there in the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. The boats were posing an active danger to vessels in the area, and the American team didn't waste any time reacting. The helos swooped in, locked onto their marks, and neutralized the threat before those boats could get close and ship. It was quick, sharp, and perfectly synced up. A move that delivered an unmistakable signal. A move that's sharp and unmistakable. But here's where things start twisting into something way more layered. U.S. officials have also verified that Iran isn't stopping at merchant ships. They're now hitting directly at American warships, too. And it's not just one tactic. They're mixing drone attacks. They're mixing cruise missiles and these speedy boats into layered, coordinated waves, designed to hit every angle at once. That mix isn't random. It's a smart, calculated plan meant to overload U.S. defenses by making them juggle different kinds of threats. This latest clash popped up right after the United States. This latest clash operation kicked off a fresh operation dedicated to safeguarding shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. They called it Project Freedom, with a simple but crucial aim. Keep the waterway open for business, protect the flow of global trade against the flow of global trade, and show that the U.S. anyone trying to mess with it. But get this, the twist nobody quite saw coming is that even as the operation got rolling, the White House chose to hit pause on Project Freedom. At least strikes for now. Why? It looks like the folks in charge are trying to crack open a path for talks with Iran. So right when American helicopters are dropping those boats in the strait, Washington is also quietly checking if dialogue can pull things back from the brink. That push-pull between boots on the deck action and reaching out diplomatically today, and it says everything about how tangled and tricky this mess. U.S. and about how tangled and tricky this mess truly is. Central Command has been ramping up its forces in the region for a while, gearing up that aim to rattle global trade and test American sneaky, fast-moving threats that attack American naval strength. And when folks talk about the U.S. military footprint in the Strait of Hormuz these days, they're not picturing just multi-layer of ships bobbing around. No, it's a complete multi-layered setup and everything connecting them. You've got jets like the A-10, Thunderbolt II, F-15s, F-16s, F-18s, and even those cutting-edge F-35 stationed nearby, all set to jump in fast if things heat up. Electronic warfare birds such as the EA-18G Growler are in the mix too, ready to scramble or flying blind before anything escalates. Surveillance planes like the RC-135 stay airborne at sea. Surveillance planes like the RDFA airborne nonstop, piping fresh intel straight to commanders on the ground and at sea, plus tanker aircraft, the KC-46 and KC-135s, so the planes can stay out there longer without heading home. In plain terms, that adds up to nonstop watchfulness overhead in the Strait of Hormuz right now. Total readiness. Every ripple on the water, every movement nearby. Let's hit pause for a second and zoom in on the 2 helicopters that actually handled the strike, because understanding them, why this just went down now. Because understanding them really unlocks why this went down the way it did. The AH-64 Apache ranks among the most intimidating attack helo. Laos out there, proven tough in fights from the Middle East to Europe and farther afield, and fights in the U.S. manual. This isn't some back ride. It's a true frontline fighter crafted for high-pressure moments just like this. It's loaded with serious punch that can unleash in seconds flat. The main gun, loaded with serious punch that can unleash Nanjing going. That 30mm chain cannon, tucked under the nose, spits out hundreds of rounds a minute. Against small, lightly armored boats, a quick burst right through and sink one in no time. But that's only the beginning. That's only the Apache also haul weapons that home in with pinpoint accuracy. For evasive, speedy boats trying to dodge and weave. That level of precision makes all the makes all the difference. Taking them out clean, without dragging things out, and giving others a chance to slip away. The MH-60 Seahawk brings its own vital skills to the table. While the Apache usually launches from land, the Seahawk is built Navy style to lift straight off warship decks, and it can hop up from a destroyer, skim low over the waves. That kind of instant response from ships already on scene. Is something land-based planes just can't match. Typically outfitted with heavy machine guns, rockets, and sometimes guided missiles depending on the job. Its flexibility shines in a spot like the Strait of Hormuz. What is how this duo unstoppable in a strait Pythomuz is how they complement each other perfectly. The Apache delivers heavy hitting power, tough armor, and deadly accuracy, and the speed to reach threats from nearby ships in minutes, while the Seahawk adds sharps from nearby ships in minutes. Combined, they spot, follow, and take down targets faster than almost any other team of assets could. So when those 6 Iranian boats sped in low and fast, Sastern already in distant ships, they were already marked from the sky, already in the crosshairs. Once the Helos engaged, time basically ran out for them. Hang tight with political insight live here, because the next layer of this breakdown, the bigger game plan, the military tools involved, the bigger game plan behind the operation, the biggest and what it all spells for worldwide shipping wool in the Persian Gulf. This situation is evolving by the hour, and every detail counts. Helicopters are only once in the Persian Gulf. Helicopters are only one slice of the story, though, and you have to see the bigger threat picture in the Strait of Hormuz. If those fast boats get too close to U.S. warships or the fight ramps up beyond what air support can manage, they can step up with their own heavy arsenal. The Navy vessels Arleigh Burke-class destroyers are built exactly for scenarios like this. Up close, their fast-firing deck guns can lock on and hammer small, darting boats with accuracy, even when everything's moving. Those 5-inch naval cannons churn out rounds steadily, guided by top-tier systems that adjust on the fly. But they're also fitted with the Phalanx close-in weapon system. Basically, with the Phalanx weapon system, an automated radar-driven Gatling gun that spots and shreds incoming to last second with almost zero human delay. It handles everything from drones and missiles to boats that sneak past outer defenses, acting as that final shield before impact. Against lightly armed speedboats, it's devastatingly good. And don't forget the ship-launched missiles. The systems here can shift gears to handle smaller swarms when needed, especially in coordinated rushes meant to flood the defenses. Picture the whole thing happening live, half racing in from every direction toward a warship or merchant vessel. Helos are already overhead picking them off. He was certain. Karn's destroyer radars are tracking the whole group at once. Deck guns are traversing the waves. The Phalanx is wearing to life. And any stragglers still face the ship's inner defenses point blank. There's nowhere left to hide once you're spotted, each covering its own slice of the battle space. And then there's a platform a lot of people might not expect in a sea fight, the A-10 Thunderbolt II in Asan. This bird's been around since the 1970s, originally made for smashing tanks in heavy European fights during the Cold War, not naval stuff at all. Yet it turns out to be a game changer against small boats too, thanks to what sets it apart. Centered completely on its GO8 Avenger cannon. That massive 30mm beast firing explosive shells at blistering speed. When it does a gun run, that deep grinding roar is unmistakable. A direct burst on an open water boat is game over. There's basically no surviving it at close range. What really makes the A-10 shine, though, is how it flies low and slow compared to speedy jets. It can circle an area for ages, scanning following movements, and picking the perfect instant to strike. In a chaotic swarm where a dozen boats scatter every which ways. A-10s are active in the region now. Reports show A-10s are active in the region now, backing Project Freedom and adding to the overall show of strength around the strait. This labor in the A-10's steady close support role, with the heavy strikes from F-15s and F-18s providing cover, plus live Dataphone 35s to every unit at once, and you get the full sense of the U.S. setup. Up here. It's not just about reacting. It's about owning the skies, the surface, and the intel flow long before threats ever get near. Still, even with all that muscle, those Iranian stubborn ongoings keep posing a stubborn ongoing risk. Not because they're tougher or fancier than US gear, but because of how they're meant to work, some with misswarms. Dozens rushing from off-the-tracking missiles, some packed with explosives for suicide runs, others just to clog up the tracking systems. In that setup, you don't need explosive-laden vessel. Slipping close to a destroyer could do real harm. Flip the script in a heartbeat, mate, and spark the kind of escalation nobody wants. So while knocking out 6 boats in one go is a solid win, and exactly the kind of quick, firm Project Freedom was built to show, it's really just a snapshot in a longer, tougher campaign. The other side only needs one longer, tougher campaign. With the mains to your refresh, that brings us straight to the big question hanging over all of it. Can the US shut down every single attempt, every single time, not just today or this week, but steadily over the long haul against an opponent that's always tweaking, tactics learning, and poking for gaps? This whole effort started under the Trump administration to reopen and lock down one of the scoring points in separate arteries isn't only about scoring points in separate clashes. It's about whether steady American power can actually nudge a tough rival, even paused for now. Will Project Freedom hold the Strait open time? Then is more Iranian time? Will it discourage more Iranian moves? Or will each new hit and headline just crank up the tension, making a bigger blowup more likely? Beyond the boats and the strikes themselves, what's truly on the line is huge. The Strait of Hormuz is the world's top choke point for oil. About 1/5 of global supply squeezes through that narrow gap. Any lasting hiccups supply chain just bump U.S. gas prices. It ripples into energy costs, supply chains, and economies everywhere. Europe, Asia, and plenty more rely on it staying clear. The demand on America to keep it flowing isn't only about strategy or force. It's economic and diplomatic, touching nearly every country out there. So what's playing out in the Strait right now isn't just a local scrap between the U.S. and Iran. It's a massive test over the control of world trade, the reach American deterrence, and whether military muscle and smart diplomacy can somehow work together to stop things from spiraling into something much, to forces on's worse. Every step, every call from Washington, every directive to forces on, every reply from Tehran sends ripples far past the Persian Gulf. This doesn't feel like the wrap-up at all. It feels like the first pages of a story still being written, with the ending anything but set. Don't miss a beat as it keeps. Stick with political that bell, so you're always the first to get these sharp and tap that bell. The next twist could hit any sharp breakdowns the second they drop. The next twist could hit any time, and when it does, you'll want to be right there, understanding exactly what's at stake and why it changes everything.